What do we think, guys?
Oh yeah,
You
let's
ready?
start with our predictions.
Okay, here we go.
So you want to
So
start
let's
with the
start. Yeah,
Thursday night game?
let's go.
Thursday night.
Absolutely. Thursday
All right.
night. Mike, let's hear the line.
Well, right now it is Chiefs -3, and the over/under is set at 46 and a half. And those are that's the total and
So we got
spread.
Ravens versus Chiefs. Ravens at the Kansas City Chiefs.
Ravens
Ravens
at the
at the
Kansas City
Kansas City
Chiefs.
Chiefs. And the first half spread is Chiefs 1.5, and over under is 23. Team totals for that are both 10.5.
I personally, if we're talking straight up and with the spread, I'm going Chiefs. I am not betting against Patrick Mahomes. I know he's had a couple of slow starts in the past, but he's also maybe the best quarterback of all time. He's going to be playing at home on prime time. That Arrowhead crowd is going to be rocking. If this game were played in Baltimore, it could be a very different story. But I have the Chiefs rolling, and I'll take the points as well.
Where do you
And
land
I'll
on
lay the
that,
points
Christian?
as well. I'll lay the points as well.
Yeah, I'm going to take the points. You said 3.5. Was that?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to take the Kansas City over. I think the three biggest questions for Baltimore this year are going to be with the left guard Voorhees. He's a first-time starter this year, coming off injury from USC last year. And then I think having Nate Wiggins, a rookie corner out there, I think he's going to be playing a lot. I'm going to take Mahomes all day, all day.
really. I
Um,
I think this spread. I'm not touching this spread. I think it's disgusting. Um, but if I were to land on the side, I actually would take the Ravens in here, just because. I mean, they were 7-2 as underdogs, in their last 10. I like Lamar. I like the position that they're going to be in. I think they have a physical defense that's actually going to bother the Chiefs a lot. But that's why my my pick for this one, sprinkle on +3 Ravens, but I love under 46.5. I think both of these defenses are very well improved. I think there's going to be a lot of nerves being the first game. I like the under total 46.5. I also like the under 22.5 total for the first half for each team. I think nerves are going to be playing a big factor, and I think improved defenses are going to. It's still kind of a work in progress wide receiver core in Kansas City, especially with Hollywood Brown. Who's going to be out to start the season. Xavier Worthy is a rookie. Rashee Rice had a tumultuous,
He's back.
you know,
He's
had a
back.
tumultuous year. Beat
He'll be
beat the
playing though.
allegations. Yep. No,
I'm shocked.
absolutely. I'm shocked as well, but I mean, I like the under in both the first half and the total for this game.
So
Uh,
we got for money line. We just want to make sure we got it straight up. What matters is the wins and losses. I do have the Chiefs winning at home here. What do we think?
I do, yeah.
I'm going Ravens +3.
Ravens
I
plus
just
three,
think
but money line.
Oh, money line. Oh, you devious.
We gotta get
Ah.
we gotta get some money line picks too. My girlfriend's in a Survivor league that I have to win for a second straight year in a row.
You know what?
I need my
Gi-
money line picks as well.
Give me the Ravens money line then. I like it.
Okay.
I think if they're going to keep
Second
it close,
straight
they're going to have a chance to win.
second straight home opener primetime loss for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. I don't see it happening, but I respect the conviction on the Ravens. And if it's a ball control game, who knows? It could be very low scoring, as you said. I like the under as well. What do we think? Should we move on to the first
Friday.
Is the first ever? Is it the first ever Friday night game?
The
And
first ever.
game? Is it the first ever
In
game
Sao
played
Paulo.
in the Southern Hemisphere as well?
In the
Is that
Southern Hemisphere where they
they
picked
played in Mexico City, right?
played in Mexico City.
Yeah, but that's not
but
the Southern Hemisphere.
and they picked that's true. And they picked two teams. They picked two teams that's primary colors are green in a I think either city or country where there was
Somewhere you
enough
can't
like
wear green.
somewhere you can't wear green. I'm
I
not
think
sure the
it's
exact reason why.
it's an away sporting team or like a rival sporting team to the hometown that I guess they treat like a gang war or something, and you can't wear green in that
Nice.
area.
Look at Roger Goodell growing the game we love.
We have like thousands of complaints on both sides by the Packers and the Eagles of being like, why did this happen? Why are we here? But
Terrible.
it's gonna be a lot of fun, and I'm very happy that they have a game on Friday night. Finally, because that has felt like a barren wasteland between that classic home opener on Thursday that everybody's waiting for, and then you have to wait a whole day and maybe get some off-brand college football action on Friday that does not satisfy the itch. But I'll tell you what will satisfy the itch is Eagles and Packers. Loaded talent, young teams on both sides. I'll tell you what, though. I watched Jordan Love sputter and falter for the first, 9 games last season, and then turn it on and become one of the best quarterbacks in the league for the last 8 games of the year, and then have a back-breaking interception driving down the field with a chance to, I believe, win against the 49ers in the NFC divisional game. I suspect we will be seeing more of the same, that in that Jordan Love sandwich of bad play, good play, back-breaking bad play to lose your team a game, he's going to fall right back into the bread of both sides and will not be back towards the middle of that productive season. I think we're going to see a faltering Jordan Love. I think that this defense with Vic Fangio is going to be raring to go. They've got the talent on the defensive side. If Nick Sirianni can stay out of his coordinator's way, let Kellen Moore call a balanced offensive attack, and then let Vic Fangio attack on defense, you can't get the ball to your great wide receivers if you don't have time. They're going to pressure Jordan Love, and we're going to see what he can do once again in a playoff scenario, whereas last we saw of him, he technically did lose. And I'm not just saying that as a Bears fan.
Mike, you want to give us the lines first?
Yeah, so the
Packers are going to lose. The Eagles are going to
win. Let's get some level-headedness in here. Pat, your beardom is showing. So, yeah, the line is at this point 2.5. I believe it might have opened up at 3, got bet down to 2.5 right now. Over-under is set at 48. Both team totals are 24.5 for the Eagles, 23 straight up for the Green Bay Packers. But guys, one line I really want to point out to you guys, and it's because I like
You lose him?
Oh no. He just froze.
Because he likes something. Did he freeze?
Yeah, we can pause it for a second.
Oh, there you go. All right, you're good. Here we go.
Well, guys, one line that I do want to kind of bring to your guys' attention is looking at the first half of this game. You know, both teams, as we mentioned, are going to be traveling over to Brazil. The over-under for the first half alone is set at 24.5. It's a 1.5 point spread to the Eagles. I really like the Eagles team total under 13.5 just because of improvements that the Green Bay Packers have made on defense. I think, we've already talked about so many question marks for the Eagles heading into these games. I think the Green Bay Packers are going to be able to come out early. I think it's going to be an ugly game to start out with. I would, if we had quarter spreads, I'd probably take the under for the first quarter, but I like the Eagles team total under 13.5 as well as the under of 24.5 for the first half of this game. I didn't really there's a lot of question marks, and I think a lot more that I'm sure we can dive into about the full spread and total for this game, but I anticipate, with it being the Friday game, a lot of adrenaline. Already on heightened alert. You've already heard no one's going out of their rooms while they're down there. I mean, everyone's kind of bunkered down. I like the unders in the first half. If you had to pick, it's something to throw some money on. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm personally in complete disagreement with Pat. I think Jordan Love is going to light the Eagles up. The Eagles secondary had a really bad second half of last season. And I think there's just too many questions. There wasn't a lot of continuity in training camp this year. You got two rookies, two really good rookies, but I just don't know if they've gotten enough time. James Bradbury's out. I believe you also have Sidney Brown out. I think they have a lot of questions in the secondary for a really loaded receiving core in Green Bay. I think Green Bay is going to pass all over that defense. I know we hear a lot of great things about Jalen Carter. I still think they have some question marks on the edge as well. I think they're going to get blown out. And then, Pat, you said Kellen Moore in a balanced offensive attack in the same sentence. I mean, all he does is pass the ball.
No. He's going to have a balanced offensive attack with Jalen Hurts. With Saquon Barkley, he's going to be running the ball. He's going to have a balanced attack. Saquon Barkley is going to be taking the pressure off of Jalen Hurts, who's going to roll tide, win this game. I'm telling you right now, you can think they're the underdog. Everybody's crowning the Packers as their darlings. I'm down in the Packers as my disappointments for this season.
I got Packers money line and Packers to cover this spread.
Wow, right in your face, Pat. Dang.
Well, I've got, in case you didn't know, I've got the points, please, with Philadelphia. And I got them winning outright money line. Take Philadelphia, make yourself some money.
I think another. I said all that stuff about the Packers for the first half. I actually like Philadelphia's team total over 24.5 for this game. If you like that, maybe throw some on the 48.5 total. But I think where their offense is and where they're going to pick up from is. There's a lot less question marks on that side of the ball. I think that's why I think over 24.5 is a good play as well. Even though they're going to be playing in Brazil, it's I think the offense comes alive.
I think one guy to keep an eye on.
Okay, go for it.
Just left guard, I believe or right guard is Mekhi Becton. Steen is out. Keep an eye on him.
There's a converted left tackle playing guard.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Right
away. Yeah, we'll see right away if there's any issues with that O-line. If they're going to be smooth sailing like they were the last couple of years, we'll see pretty much right away. I feel like.
Well, he's a former Jet, and Bryce Huff is a former Jet, and I think that helps address some of the questions on that defensive front that Hassan Reddick's absence may leave. But I also do want to say that I stand corrected. The Philadelphia Eagles are actually the favorite in this game. I don't love them to lay 2.5 points. I'm going to go back on my confident pick. And I would say probably the Packers are actually going to be my pick on the spread. But I still think the Eagles are going to win this game. But I don't love them laying points in this game, actually. Still too many question marks for the Eagles. I'm not going to be too confident either way, but I think the Packers are going to lose. Not that I hope, but I think.
And that is a conflicted man for you there, ladies and gentlemen.
Very conflicted. I definitely don't want them to lose. We wish the Packers all the best, of course. Not. We got. Then I guess that would take us to the Sunday slate of games. Then.
Yeah, right? We could start with the Bears and the Titans. Bears and Titans give us.
Yeah, might as well get right to it.
Why don't we start with the Bears and the Titans? The matchup everyone is clamoring for on week 1. So we start out with Bears at home against the Titans. They're a 4-point favorite. Over under is set at 45. Team totals are set at 20.5 for the Titans, 24.5 for the Bears. I mean, guys, what do you think? Just off the bat, I mean, if it's a 4.5 point spread, it'll be a 2.5 point spread for the first half, likely maybe even 3. I mean, just your thoughts on a home opener against a Titans team that has plenty of questions coming into the year. But we've talked extensively about the Bears. I mean, do you guys? If we even just look first half here, I mean, do you guys see them, jumping out early, or do you think there is going to be a decent amount of feeling out period between? What will likely be Will Levis on that side for the Titans with, a beefed up O-line, but, still plenty of questions at the playmaker areas. And then, what the Bears are coming to, what the Bears are bringing to the table right off the bat with, a seemingly pretty loaded offense. What do you guys think for, a first half that's set up like that?
I think specifically for the first half, there's going to be a lot of running the football. I think that both teams are going to look to control the ball, rely on the defenses that they both built respectively. They've been able to add both teams weapons around their young quarterback. They're both kind of similarly constructed in many ways, with veterans to supplement the young quarterback's success when you got Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, and Tyler Boyd. But I still think that they're going to be running the ball with Tyjae Spears, Tony Pollard, rely on the offensive line that you've been building. I have to think that I would go under on the total in the first half, because I think that, as you said, Mike, both of these offenses are going to be feeling each other out. I do give the edge to the Bears, and I'm not just saying that as a Bears fan, in terms of I think that Caleb Williams is the better quarterback than Will Levis right now, today, just from what I've seen from both of them. Will Levis could still be a great quarterback, but that's my assessment at this moment. And I do think that as of right now, it's crazy to say it, I have Matt Eberflus being a more seasoned head coach than Brian Callahan. I'll give the Bears the edge there. And the Bears defense was one of the better defenses in the NFL. The Titans defense still has a lot of questions to be answered outside of, a defensive front with Jeffrey Simmons, Tavondre Sweat. They've added L'Jarius Sneed, but I still think there are too many holes. I don't think that a guy like Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs are going to be the type of patchwork that you need to hold up against a team like the Bears. This is all to say, too, the Bears could just explode on offense and have a crazy game if Caleb is what he is on week one. I mean, is what we expect him to be, I should say. But I'll just say all this to say I've got the Bears on the edge just based on the fact that it'll be a ball control game, and I think they'll do a better job on that.
Yeah, I think our defense is really going to get after Will Levis. I think I actually kind of disagree with you guys in the first half. I think they are going to try and pass the ball downfield a lot. Now, I believe DeAndre Hopkins is questionable. He should be good to go Sunday. But I still see Levis passing the ball a lot. I don't know what his pass attempts are, what the over is, but I would probably take that over. And one guy to add to their defensive side of the ball, you mentioned L'Jarius, obviously, but they did also add Chidobe Awuzie. He's been a solid slot corner, so that'll be a good matchup. Whoever takes that slot matchup, if it's Keenan, that'll be a really good matchup to watch. But like I said earlier, I believe Rome is going to have a mismatch in this, and it's going to be right away. We're going to see all these mismatches all year long, and I think it's going to start right away. The only concern I have for this matchup on Sunday is the Jeffrey Simmons, Tavondre Sweat versus our interior offensive line. That's the only question.
And I think right there, Christian, is, one reason why I'm leaning Titans in this game, just with, it's going to be Caleb Williams' first game, in the NFL, and you're going up against Jeffrey Simmons and an experienced, defensive line. And with the questions already on the interior, I like the Bears I like the under in the first half. And then if I were to pick a straight up, I like the Titans better, +3, but I think I would take the Titans +3, Bears money line. But if I had to give one pick, I think I like the Titans to at least keep it closer, than people may think. I think we know there's a lot of hype going on the Bears, going into this game. I think unders in the first half and then Titans to keep it close at the end would be my picks. But I know Pat's
as much as about
that.
Well, here's the deal. As much as I want to take the Bears spread and money line, I think that with a rookie QB, as I said, it'll be a ball control game. Defenses on both sides will be playing at a top level, ready to go, minimal injuries. So I think this will be a good, hard-nosed defensive game. Give me Bears money line, but I don't love the field goal and a half, at least, that the Titans are getting in this game. I'll take Titans.
I do. I think we're going to turn the ball over a lot. Will Levis is going to have more than 2 turnovers on Sunday.
Any prediction as to who's going to cause them? Interception,
We're
Jalen
gonna
Johnson
have a sack-
interception, Kyler
sack
Gordon
fumble,
interception.
Kyler Gordon sack
Sweat?
fumble.
What?
It's going to be a Kyler Gordon sack
on a
fumble.
DB blitz.
Oh yeah, watch it.
This would be. Wait, hold on.
Pin it.
Wait, you need to
Pin it, dude.
predict it. Wait, can you predict this with a solo face layout right now in case this happens?
Kyler Gordon, strip sack, book it, pin it.
Off a DB blitz
Mark it
on Will
down.
Levis.
Yeah,
I want it. I'll pin that. I will gladly pin that, my friend. So is that going to take us through? I feel like we talked enough about how Caleb is just going to go nuts and immediately become Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen all at once in this game and just
Brett
go
Favre
nuts.
96. Brett Favre 96.
Yeah, just as long as he's in blue and orange and not green and gold, I'll take Brett Favre any day of the week.
Well, where
Actually,
do we
not
want to
even-
hop to next? Where do we want
Never
to hop
mind.
to
Brett Favre
next?
sucks.
Let's
right.
go.
Do we want to go? I
Atlanta-
think the next
Atlanta,
game that's that's exactly where my head was at. It was Atlanta Pittsburgh. It's the return of Arthur Smith to Atlanta. Let's hear those lines, Mike.
Yep. So we got we have Pittsburgh at Atlanta. Pittsburgh Steelers are 3-point underdogs. Over under is set at 42 right now. Both team totals. Falcons are at 21.5, and the Steelers are at 20.5. Looking at the first half of that game, the Falcons are 2.5-point favorites. Over under set at 20.5, and team totals are set at 10.5 and 10 for the Steelers. I think, guys, right off the bat, I hate that I'm saying this, but I kind of love the Steelers +3. I think
I like that.
Mike Tomlin, road underdog. Kirk Cousins, I think I like the Steelers +3. I kind of like the Falcons. Actually, I kind of like the Falcons under 21.5 team total. But I think the Steelers are gonna just in a completely unbiased way. I think the Steelers do keep this close. I do kind of like the under because of how improved I think both defenses are and the question marks that are already at the quarterback position for both of these teams. You know, Kirk Cousins coming off the Achilles, and you know the firestorm that is Russell Wilson. You know, I think I like the overall under in this, and I think I lean towards Pittsburgh to take the 3 points. I don't love it, but I don't know. That's a tough place to play down in Georgia. Russell Wilson might get rattled early, and then just given the question marks with Kirk Cousins, I like the under at 42 in this game, and I think both defenses are very much improved. Be it getting guys back from injuries and additions, to both units. I think the under definitely is in play here, but I do like the Steelers to keep it close. But under would be my pick for it. What do you guys think?
I got Atlanta. Atlanta -3. I got them taking the points. First of all, they had I know it was really late in the offseason, but you add Matt Judon and Justin Simmons. I'm really excited about that duo in the safety back on defense with Simmons and Bates. Yeah, I think that's going to be amazing to watch. Like really, really great stuff to watch. And with Russell Wilson and package Justin Fields, I just don't think they have enough. I also see they have a lot of injuries on the O-line. Isaac Sumalo, their left guard, is out. I think that means they're going to start 3 rookies week 1 on the offensive line with Fatanu, Frazier, and it might not be McCormick. It might be someone else. So maybe just 2. Either way, too many questions on the offensive line. Roman Wilson is likely, he's questionable. He should play, but he might be hampered with an ankle injury. I think there's too many questions on that offense, and I think they're going to just get shut down. by Atlanta's defense, which is talented, with Judon as well, who just found out he wanted to be a Bear before he wanted to be a Falcon.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
missed that.
I did not hear that. I did not catch that. This is one game where I so badly want to pick the Steelers, just based on Mike Tomlin as a head coach facing off against a brand spanking new team, new offensive coordinator, new head coach, new pieces on defense, new, makes me want to go with old reliable, one of the best regular season coaches of this generation, of this era, a guy who's always going to have a great defense to answer any kind of new tricky offense that you might be trotting out with a hobbled Kirk Cousins. I so badly want to pick the Steelers, but I just can't when you have Russell Wilson and Justin Fields as your only options at quarterback. As you said, Christian, the offensive line is hampered. Does not sound like a recipe for a lot of scoring by the Steelers. And once again, this is another game that they don't need to have a barn burner. If you feed Bijan Robinson in this game, control the ball, and just take out any chance that Russell Wilson has, he's going to have one or two opportunities to beat you in the game with how damaged this offensive line is. He's going to be running for his life. He's not going to have the openings. And I think it's going to be the Falcons feasting all day. Once again, this is a game where I wish I could pick the Steelers, but I'm going with the Falcons. And I'll probably lay the points as well, because I think that, once again, offense with Russell Wilson in the year 2024, still with questions, is asking for trouble, even with Mike Tomlin as your coach.
I think one, as we just, I think we expect at least the Falcon side of the ball to be a relatively high scoring affair, and that's I actually like Bijan Robinson's over 26.5 receiving yards. I think he's going to be a major part of the pass game as a safety valve, receiver. I also think he's going to be getting the ball a ton on the ground as well. I kind of like his rushing total over 64.5, especially early on, as they're going to be feeling out to see how much are they going to put on Kirk's plate right away coming off the Achilles. I mean, he didn't really get any action in the preseason. I think banking on a big Bijan Robinson game, even as an anytime touchdown scorer, but especially in the pass game and on the ground with that 64.5 for his rushing total. I like all his overs and for him to score week one.
Sure.
And how brutal will it be for Arthur Smith to go back to Atlanta for his very first game post-firing as the Atlanta Falcons head coach and watch Bijan Robinson tear his offense, or tear the defense that he's coaching with up, when he had so many opportunities to make use of Bijan Robinson last season, and it appears that he refused to out of principle. So that's an interesting storyline to watch that in that game, is Bijan Robinson, and if there's any Bijan Robinson revenge game against Arthur Smith, who just so happens to be their week one opponent, offensive coordinator in Pittsburgh. So
hey, let's show you how it's done.
Yeah?
Hey, let's show you how it's done game.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Don't think, just give the ball to Bijan Robinson game.
Yeah, exactly.
It's pretty simple, Arthur Smith. Don't overthink it with Tyler Algier. And we can move from that game, I don't have a good transition at all, to a game where I think Arizona should be glad that this game is happening in September and not in December, because that could be quite a home field advantage for the Buffalo Bills. But we've got Cardinals at Bills. Mike, you got the lines for me?
Yes, I do. So we're going to open up with Bills getting 6.5 points. Total, or over under is set at 48. Team total overs are 21 for the Cardinals, 27 for the Bills. That's for the full game. First half lines for Cardinals Bills are as followed. Line, 3.5 Bills, and 24 for the over-under, 14 for the team total overs for the first half, and 10.5 for the Cardinals. Right off the bat, guys, I think. Uh, it's a tough one. It is a
Yeah.
tough one because Kyler Murray is coming back. I kind of like the Cardinals getting 6 points just with the the amount of weapons that they are going to have on offense. James Conner's going to be back there. I like Trey McBride as an anytime touchdown scorer as well. I mean, we're going to see if they can take the top off the defense with Marvin Harrison Jr. And questions are. I mean, Matt Milano already out for the Bills on the defensive side. I think you put the quarterbacks up. Obviously Josh Allen is Josh Allen, but there are question marks, surrounding that young wide receiver core for Buffalo that we talked about going into this game, as well as on the defensive side. And I really think, Kyler Murray is going to come out wanting to, make a statement. Jonathan Gannon going into his second year as head coach. We saw them competitive down the stretch, even when they were trotting out Josh Dobbs. Maybe not so much Caleb Toon, but at least when they had Josh Dobbs out there, I like the Cardinals at +6, to keep it close in this one. What do you guys think? We said the over/under set at I believe it was 48 in this one.
I'll just say, I think this is such an interesting matchup for the Bills week 1, in that it's not exactly a tough matchup. Particularly, this is a matchup that the Bills are expected to win, but it will be a tough matchup. It's not marketed as a tough matchup, but this will be a good benchmark test to see how Josh Allen will elevate this offense for the Bills. The Cardinals are particularly weak on the defensive side. They're not known for being a great defense, but they do have a good, solid defensive coach in Jonathan Gannon, who's building with young pieces. So we'll see, based on the fact that this is not a star level defense, a star filled team that's going to necessarily warrant maybe an upset loss at home for the Bills. They should take care of business. I believe they will take care of business in Orchard Park with Bills Mafia cheering them on in the home opener. That's a tough place to play. But I think, to Mike's point, this game could be a lot closer, certainly a lot closer than a touchdown. Give me the Cardinals points.
Absolutely. And
with the Bills win.
Absolutely. I'd agree with that Bills win. It's going to be a close game, though. I mean, Arizona's defense is very it seems like it's going to have a lot of trouble with Josh, but at the same time, it does feel kind of like a trap game. Josh could throw a couple he could turn the ball over a couple of times throughout the game, and it could be closer than we all expected. I'm really excited about Arizona's offense, top to bottom. I love the skill positions. I love Marvin. I love Trey. I love Trey Benson backing up James Conner. I think Trey Benson is going to be one of the top 3 rookie running backs of this year. So keep an eye out on Trey. And then they just signed their center, a real good center, Froholt, to an extension. Add that to Paris Johnson and Jonah Williams. I think there's a lot of good things going on with the offense. The only concern I have is their defense, and unfortunately, they're playing Josh Allen. I expect a shootout, though. I think there's going to be a lot of passes and a lot of touchdowns for sure.
Could be a good game. I'd be very interested in seeing a Kyler Murray versus Josh Allen shootout. That'd be very entertaining football on both sides, especially in a random noon PM game.
One prop that I want to bring to your guys' attention that I like in this game, I think especially with, we talked about, the weapons that are on offense. Marvin Harrison Jr., as electric as he is and the ceiling that he has, I don't want to touch his number, but one prop that I do really like is Trey McBride over 48.5 receiving yards in this game. I think if the Cardinals are going to keep it close, as I think we all believe they're going to do, he's going to be a focal part of that offense. I mean, there were games last year where he was getting 10 receptions, and getting close to 95, 100 yards. I think he's going to be a focal part of this offense off the bat, and I like him to go over 48.5 receiving yards in this one.
Mike, do you have a prop for Khalil Shakir?
Khalil Shakir props. Do you think he's going to be a focal part of that offense? At least going to be the one commanding the majority of the targets. That's kind of what they made it out to be like. All throughout the offseason.
He's kind of the
Yeah.
He's the with Diggs and Gabriel Davis out. He's kind of the returning vet. Even though I know him as a young guy, but he would be one of the returning veterans in that wide receiver room, isn't he?
He's a returning vet, and I think he's a guy. I mean, his over under set at 46.5. I kind of like his over too, Christian. I mean, for a guy that they definitely target in the middle of the field with yards after catch potential, I like that prop as well.
Yeah, I think he's going to get at least 7-8 targets.
To wrap up, Mike, do you have the Cardinals winning this game, or do you think I've got the Bills winning, Cardinals plus 6.5 at this point?
I'm gonna go Bills winning, Cardinals plus 6.5. I think I'd feel better if this was plus 7, but I think I'll roll with them plus 6.5.
Yeah, their secondary is banged up. Their whole secondary, the Bills, the whole secondary is banged up. So keep an eye out.
It'd be a shootout. Would love to see it on Sunday, but I'll be watching the Bears game. We will watch every game though, as the Bulletin Board Sports Podcast, bringing you quality content. And what may not be quality content is the next game that I'm going to bring up: Patriots and Bengals. Patriots in Cincinnati to play the Bengals in a home opener against Joe Burrow, a healthy Joe Burrow. Maybe Jamar Chase, but I don't know if they're going to need Jamar Chase in this game. I think that the Bengals are going to roll. I don't think there's too much to go off of other than just, damn, that Patriots team is going to be rough this season. They know they're not ready to play Drake May. They know they're in a transitionary period. I think this is a game that is probably going to be my pick in the Survivor League that I will be pirating. Or captaining, I should say, this year is going to be Bengals over Patriots. I'm confident in the money line, and dare I say, I'm even confident too. What's this line, Mike? Is it you? I guess this would be a good lead-in for you to give me the lines too.
Yeah. So the line to start off is 9.5 for. Well, it opened at 9.5 for the Bengals. It's been bet down to this point to 8. But I think then the over-under is set at, give me 2 seconds.
How many points do you think Jamar Chase would be worth in this game? Just curious, just based on the spread. If it's 8 right now, they say Jamar Chase signs a contract tomorrow. I bet it immediately goes up to 10.5.
I would assume it goes up to 10.5. Bet for 8, and then sitting at 4.5 for the first half. But I think if Jamar Chase comes into this game, it could be 10. I think if it got up to 12.5, I would be inclined to take the Patriots because, shocker, they get paid to play football too. But no, it's sitting at 8 right now. Over under is a gross 40.5. Team totals are 24.5 for the Bengals, 17 for the Patriots. I think off the bat here, I don't love the spread just because I think eight's a tricky number. It's a tricky number when it comes to the NFL. What I do like is Patriots to go under 17 for their team total. I think this is an improved Cincinnati Bengals defense, especially in the interior defensive line. They still have Trey Hendrickson, who I think, in being someone who has cheered for a year and a half for Jacoby Brissett, you can kind of tell when the wheels have fallen off and when you're dragging sparks on the ground. So give me the Bengals at. I would sprinkle on them 8.5, but I like their team total over 24.5, and I also like. I also like Trey Burton to go over his projected receiving total, which I believe is set.
Jermaine Burton.
Jermaine Burton, not Trey
Roll
Burton.
Tide roll. Trey Burton, the
Jermaine
guy
Burton.
Jermaine Burton, Trey Burton, the guy whose hip gets locked up the day before a playoff game, and he has no answer to why he can't play a playoff. I got to stop talking about the 2018 Bears. I really do. I got to just drop the 2018 Bears. Trey Burton's afraid to play against the Philadelphia Eagles. No, but anyway, the Bengals at -8. You said,
Yeah.
that's a tough line.
I'm gonna take it though.
But I was gonna say I still think I'm gonna take it based purely on how horrible I think that this Patriots offense is gonna be. I don't think they're gonna be able to keep up with Joe Burrow, and that's including trying to keep up with a touchdown and a point as their head start. I think that, like you said, Mike, this game could even go up if somehow Jamar Chase has a deal done where he's playing week 1, and I still don't understand that situation. But if he does, then this game could get really ugly, and I would take that 8 easily in that case.
I'll say the one matchup that
Go
I'm
ahead.
looking forward to. Yeah, the one matchup I'm looking forward to is Christian Gonzalez and T. Higgins. I
Yeah.
think that'll be a real good matchup to watch. But yeah, Joe, I think Joe's going to be surgical. One thing I will say, completely separate from the Patriots, but it's a great show to watch. I don't know if you guys seen it, but it's Bill Belichick on the CW with Matt Patricia, and he was basically talking about the NFL, but he was talking about the Patriots. You guys should go watch it.
What is it?
I think it's
It's Bill Belichick and Matt Patricia just like hanging out. And
Yeah.
talking. That's supposed to be good.
Yeah.
That's a room
Okay.
a room full of personality right there.
I'm sure that the defensive schematics that were argued
It's
and
good.
the nuts and bolts of football was interesting. Those have to be two of the worst personalities I could ever imagine hosting
if you
any
like-
kind of show or entertainment.
Inside the NFL is
Yeah.
what it is on the CW. It's a good watch, guys.
Okay.
I think
Don't-
Hey, I trust you.
I think
You're
a
my
prop
NFL guy. I trust you.
I think a prop that I also like is Andre Yeshivas. I think his line is right now at 16.5, might be hovering around 20. I like his receiving yards over. I've heard a lot of good stuff of him coming out of camp. And it's just one of those. It's one of those bets where it's like you knew what Tyler Boyd was leaving on the table, like around 4.5 receptions, maybe. Between 24 and 33 yards. I like Yeshivas to go over his receiving total.
What's that in
for this
compared
game?
to Jermaine? Who's got a higher odds compared to him and Jermaine?
Jermaine Burton's props are as follows.
You got to sing if you're gonna. You better be singing instead of whistling on the podcast.
Give me
Yeah, it's
2
still
By the way,
seconds. So
that's a real interesting thing to look out for week 1. I know if Jamar, we're not going to see Jamar, but I'm interested to see who takes
Dude.
that wide receiver 3.
I guess we could
role.
address this quick. Is he gonna miss it? Is Jamar Chase gonna miss week 1? Is he really gonna just eat the paycheck?
I hope.
Like
I
2
hope
years
not.
out of his contract. Yeah, it
I
would.
think it's
It
just
would
on
suck.
principle.
I don't think they'll need him, but I think it's just a dumb thing to do after seeing how the Le'Veon Bell situation
Yeah.
played out.
I think
even
as
after seeing Deshaun Watson, sorry, Mike, but even after seeing Deshaun Watson get paid to not play football for an
Yeah.
extended amount of time and then try to come back, it's not as easy as it seems.
I
So,
think you
don't know.
make any bet in this game, which is why I like Yeshivas over 16.5. That could be bet up to around maybe 24. Now that it's trending towards Jamar Chase not playing in this game. I think if the Bengals are going to move the ball, it's going to be T. Higgins and him getting it done. But another guy that I think would be interesting and might be worth the price for an anytime touchdown is going to be Zach Moss. He's going to be the featured back, or at least to at least one can assume being a more veteran running back to complement Chase Brown back there. I like Zach Moss for an anytime touchdown scorer. Just assuming, I mean, he was on a tear there with the Colts just last year. And I think it's something where he's going to be in a better offense, pick it right back up, and he's a good. I think he is a good target for an anytime touchdown in this game.
Good call.
Love a good anytime touchdown pick. So that could bring us then to one of the more interesting games of week 1. Feels like if this were in another division, it would be a marquee matchup. You've got the two top teams who played each other for a spot in the playoffs for the AFC South Championship last season, and they're playing at noon, week 1, with two exciting young quarterbacks. So this is going to be another fun game to watch. It's Texans at Colts. Mike, what do you got for me on the lines?
Wow, I thought you were going to go Saints and Panthers. Okay. Two exciting young quarterbacks. That's exactly where I thought you were going with that. So we've got, we have Texans and Colts opening up at Lucas Oil Stadium. Colts are 3-point underdogs at home. Texans are getting 3 points. Over-under is set at 48.5. Team totals are 24.5 for the Texans, 23 for the Colts. Right off the bat, guys, difficult to say. We wear our biases on our sleeves here on the Bulletin Board Sports Podcast. I have CJ Stroud as my quarterback for fantasy, as well as a double dip with Stephon Diggs. So to say I am leaning Texans would be an understatement, but I think just given where things are at, I like the over in this game for one, because I think, that's just a fun over at 48 with Anthony Richardson and CJ Stroud going back and forth. I think both these offenses have the potential to put up points. I lean for the Texans, and I also lean over 48 in this game, even though there's been significant improvements for the Texans on defense. What do you think, guys? I mean, this one's a little harder to judge, I think, with what we don't know about what Anthony Richardson is going to look like off the bat. But assuming he is 100%, I think this might be a shootout.
I think that Shane Steichen calling plays for Anthony Richardson at the mesh point with Jonathan Taylor is going to be deadly. I think it will be a great combination. I think that they're going to win a ton of games this season, but it won't be this Sunday. Texans are going to win. I'm laying the points with the Texans as well. I think that this team is just too good. CJ Stroud showed us that he could be a top 5 quarterback in this league last year. The team's only getting better around him. I think that I'm really high on the Texans this season. I think they're going to handle business in the AFC South. But at the same time, like you said, Anthony Richardson is a total question mark, a total unknown, and he could be the next Josh Allen. He could be a unicorn or the next Cam Newton. I think that's the better comp. I think this guy could be Cam Newton, but we just haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen enough. And until I do, I'm going to roll with a guy like CJ Stroud, especially in a game where it's in a dome. Teams have played each other multiple times. Teams know each other very well. Give me the better quarterback and arguably the better coach in DeMeco Ryans. But I do like Shane Steichen a lot.
Yeah, no, it doesn't look like Samson Abukam's going to play. So that pass rush for Indianapolis is not going to be as good as it can be. I agree with you guys. I think Houston's going to take care of business. Anthony Richardson, I do think he's going to go through some rough patches. I would take an interception or a turnover if you can get that prop. I would totally do that. But I do love Jonathan Taylor this year. I think he's going to have a breakout season. But unfortunately, I think right now there's too much firepower for Houston. The best matchup, the most exciting matchup I'm looking forward to would be the Kenny Moore Tank Dell matchup. I could see Tank Dell scoring on Sunday as well.
Just a couple of props to throw at you guys. I like. I mean, we'll see what you guys think. I'm leaning towards possibly a Nico Collins anytime touchdown scorer. I mean, I think there's been a lot of hype around him being a wide receiver. What would have been a wide receiver 1, but 1A and 1B kind of. Now that they bring in Stephon Diggs, I also like. Just given who the weapons are on the Colts side of the football and who is going to have to get the ball. I like the second or third year. I'm sorry, tight end, third year tight end, Kyle Granson. He's gotten over at 22.5. I think if they're going to continue, if they're going to move the ball, as a guy who's going to be playing over the middle, I think for Anthony Richardson that he'll be a target to at least go over 22.5 receiving yards. And that's one I kind of like on their end, as well as Matt Gay over 6.5 points himself. A couple of field goals, and then
Matt Gay is questionable.
Wow.
I want to say he is questionable. Keep an eye out on that. He is questionable.
Don't let Christian bring it down. Bet it.
Got a groin
all
injury.
Right. Get it anyway. No, that's the Bulletin Board Sports Promise. No, I think you got to consider Nico Collins for the anytime touchdown. As you said, Mike, they brought in Stephon Diggs. Yeah, this CJ Stroud is a year more comfortable in this offense. As you said, they're going to be trying to neutralize multiple players on that offense. They brought in Stephon Diggs. They still have Dawson Schultz and Tank Dell, but Nico Collins is still that true X receiver that's going to be targeted in red zone situations, those 20 yards and in. Nico Collins is going to be the perfect target for CJ Stroud. I would take him on the anytime touchdown, and I might put some money on that myself.
One of the more interesting storylines going into it, though, I think is obviously Stephon Diggs and how he is going to be involved in this offense. I mean, he's not a guy who you bring in to not throw the football to. I think if you're going to take a bet on him with around 5.5 to 6 receptions, I think would be the way to lean is over under sitting at around, I believe, 66.5 yards. I think if you're going to, I like his receptions over and, liking the receptions over, I might as well just sprinkle on the receiving yards over. Just based off the fact that you don't bring a guy like Stephon Diggs in to not feature him right away in the offense. I think he's going to be targeted early and often in this game, and that's why I like him to go over his props.
I got
Anthony Richardson touchdown prop. What do we think? Anthony Richardson rushing touchdown. Would you take it?
No.
Doesn't the guy have like a rushing touchdown in every game that he's played in the NFL so far?
And
that's going to be
how many games with
I think that's going to be
Taylor though. How many games with Jonathan Taylor?
Exactly.
That's
I think
fair.
the Jonathan
Taylor, but it doesn't mean that they're not going to use him as a decoy on a read option or a QB.
It definitely it could be in the cards. Do you think there's any hesitancy coming off the shoulder surgery to maybe ease him into that part of his game, or do you think that's something they tear the Band-Aid off right away with? I think that's going to be a major question mark, and how they're going to be playing it. We're going to be able to see right away if his rushing prop total over it's going to be hitting or not, just depending on how much they're going to get him outside of the pocket, especially having Jonathan Taylor there. I temper expectations for it.
That's a fair criticism. I'm not going to bet that.
I think with Josh Downs, being questionable as well, I think he's going to have some struggles this weekend for sure.
Anthony Richardson struggles. It's going to be tough trying to come back and play again after having so much time off against a team like that. The division champion immediately coming into your house week 1. It's a tall order. We'll see. I think that could be a very interesting game if Shane Steichen calls a good game, and who knows that like we said, we haven't seen Jonathan Taylor and Anthony Richardson together. That could be a dynamic offensive duo that turns the league on its head week 1 with a big win.
And
but,
one last thing on this game, Robert Woods is questionable going into it. Kind of, I think at the very least elevating the floors of both Tank Dell and Nico Collins. So definitely look at their receiving props. If you're going to want an angle going into this game.
Lots of great receivers for the Texans for sure. So you thought that I was going this direction before. Are you ready for my guy Bryce Young getting saddled with a really rough week 1 draw? He's not facing a great team, but he's probably playing in one of the top 5 last places you'd want to play in terms of being a young quarterback playing week 1. The crowd in New Orleans in the Superdome is going to be going crazy. It's Panthers and Saints. Mike, what are the lines for this game?
Yeah, it's Panthers and Saints. Panthers traveling to New Orleans, playing in the Superdome. Second year for Bryce Young. I mean, let's see what it's going to be. I mean, let's not forget to mention that the 2-15 season was their worst season that they've had since 2010. And I mean, he wasn't working with a lot, but without further ado, it's a 4-point spread. Saints -4. Over under is set at 42. Panthers team total is 17.5. Saints are at 23. I think this is you just take the Saints and don't even watch this game. But I do think that there are there's going to be some bright spots, I think, with the Panthers. One part that I actually am interested to see is what Chuba Hubbard is going to be looking like. I mean, presumably the lead back. I mean, the questions with Jonathan Brooks, I believe he doesn't come back until maybe around week 5. Coming off the injury, I think Chuba Hubbard is going to be a major focal point in this offense. I mean, they're going to have to move the ball somehow. So I think guys like at least taking with the question marks that do surround Bryce Young. This is going to be a tough Saints defense led by Cam Jordan that he's going up against. I would anticipate that Dave Canales leans on Chuba Hubbard and at least take a look at his receiving prop total and his rushing prop. I like him to kind of be someone to target for any kind of semblance of producing offense for the Panthers going into this one. I think it's going to be a tough game for them, though.
I mean, I think I'll just say real quick, you didn't pay 2 top-tier offensive guards like the Panthers did to not run the football and take pressure off your quarterback, because it felt like last season, the entire season was just hanging Bryce Young out to dry with a terrible offensive line and Adam Thielen as his only wide receiving option. And then you had Miles Sanders, who was supposed to be the guy who takes the pressure off of Bryce Young, but ended up being arguably the biggest disappointment in one of the biggest disappointments in the NFL last season. And a guy who lost his job, as you mentioned, to Chuba Hubbard. So we'll see. I think that this is a team that they've put a floor in Carolina. It might be a shoddy foundation, but they're at least trying to surround this guy and give him a semblance of a chance to succeed. But I don't think he's going to be succeeding week 1 against a solid defense, if nothing else, in New Orleans. And once again, I think the biggest factor in this game is going to be how difficult it is for the Panthers to get their offense going. If you're going to get your offense going for the first time, it's going to be difficult to do with the noise in the Superdome week 1. I've got the Saints and taking the points and the game in this situation.
I'm also taking the Saints in the points. I think Carolina defensively, no Dane Jackson, no DJ Wanham for the first few weeks. I think that's going to hurt them in the run game a lot, and I think Alvin Kamara is going to score. Offensively, I think Bryce Young is going to target Deontay Johnson a lot this year and in week 1. I like him for over receiving yards, and then I like him probably anytime touchdown score. So I'll take those 2 props for Deontay, but you're right. I do like the investment in the offensive line for Carolina. New Orleans, Derek Carr is going to turn the ball over at least one time. So it will be a closer game than we expect, but I'll take New Orleans plus the points.
Yeah,
I love
one.
just stating as a matter of stating as a matter of fact that Derek Carr absolutely will be turning the ball over at least once.
Yeah, he
Just
will.
as the resident statistician of the podcast, we'll pin that one as well. Put that
One
right next to the Anthony Richardson interception prop too. All right, what were you gonna say, Mike?
One prop that I do want to bring to your guys' attention that I do kind of like in this game as well is Alvin Kamara's over 29 receiving yards. I think he's a guy that if the Saints are going to have the success that they want to have on that side of the football, he's going to have to be featured in both parts of on the offensive side of the ball. And I think 30 yards for him is two broken tackles and he could be gone. So I mean I like his over receiving prop going into this game as well.
And I believe
High
he is
upside.
in a prove it year. I believe it's a prove it year for him last year on his deal. So he's looking to make one more contract at least.
Absolutely will be.
I don't know. I think that Alvin Kamara is definitely a guy who I'm not going to count him out until he retires. That guy is some of the most unique ability in terms of just staying on his feet, breaking a tackle, as you said, Mike. I think he still has the opportunity to be one of the most electrifying players on the field at any given moment. So I'll take a Alvin Kamara anytime touchdown prop in this game is what I'll put my money on.
And this is coming from a guy who was a victim of the Alvin Kamara 6 touchdown game. So that guy just he scares me out there in fantasy when that happened. That was a tough day.
Oh my
it was
God.
a tough day.
What can you do at that point? You could have Trey McBride and all your cute little tight ends all you want, but you're gonna be done when the running back puts 6 on you on the other side. Does that take us then to another? Speaking of dust, another dust game on this on this slate. I'm looking at Vikings Giants.
Yep. Oh, America's.
Let's not spend a lot of time on this.
Let's not go too crazy on this one. America's game of the week. Yeah. Oh Lord. I mean, there are more questions than answers going into this game. Really, I think on both sides of the football for either of these teams. I don't really like Daniel Jones, but also, I think you never count out Justin Jefferson. I think, being that it's going to be Sam Darnold back there, I think the safest route is, I think, it's a 1.5 spread. Over under is at 41. Team totals are at 21 and 20 for the Vikings and Giants respectively.
Can you give us Justin's props?
Yeah, I was gonna say the only prop that I would like that I would even consider touching would possibly be Jefferson at over 80, or not even. I don't even know if I like him at over 82.5 yards, but an over under of 6.5 receptions. I think he gets peppered with targets. He could have 5 by the first quarter end. I think it could take one. It could take
Sam
one
Darnold
drive,
throwing it to him every
time. just peppering him. I think that you go over with that, and then you just if you're going to take any side or total in this game, just plug your nose and pick it. But I think Justin Jefferson over receptions is one of the safest bets on the card there.
I'll throw Neighbors in that mix too.
Yeah, he said at 5.5 and then over under at 60.5.
Okay, yeah, I'd take the receptions for sure.
I think the most important player on either side in this game are just the two top 10 or the two top end LSU wide receivers. You got Justin Jefferson in purple, and then you're going to have let's see, this is at home, so it'll be Justin Jefferson in white and Malik Neighbors in blue for the Giants. And so when you have two offenses that are going to be designed around feeding the ball to both those guys, I'm going to take the more experienced player, the guy who has the most talent probably in the entire league, arguably one of the best players in the league in Justin Jefferson. If you have to choose between Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones, I think you put it eloquently, Mike. You just plug your nose and you do it. I'll go with the stronger offense in terms of You have Justin Jefferson. Is Jordan Addison suspended for this game?
I don't think
Is he-
so.
Is he out?
No, Jordan Addison's going to be playing with an over under
He
at
hasn't had any suspension
45.
been held
He-
down.
he
Yeah,
hasn't,
give me the Vikings offensive weapons around Sam Darnold to make minimal mistakes if he does make a mistake, and Daniel Jones just relying on Malik Neighbors is going to be not enough to go up against Justin Jefferson's essentially his offense. Kevin O'Connell is more of a seasoned play caller at this point than Brian Dable, who's going to be taking over play calling once again. Going to have to get in the groove of calling plays for Daniel Jones, his favorite guy, who we all know that he loves so much. Just whenever you see him on the television screen, he's just giving Daniel Jones the biggest hug and kiss and telling him how much he loves him and how he's definitely going to be the Giants quarterback going forward. But I think to say that, give me the Vikings. And if they're laying 1.5 points, I'll take the Vikings to win and lay some points.
I
against this Giants team.
also want to bring up one other point. They're the Giants with our boy Wink. He blitzes four more than anybody in the league.
Winks
But
in Michigan.
was it not Wink? I'm sorry.
They added. Let me look.
What's
it
his
up.
name? You're right. Wink is in Michigan. Either way, I like Aaron Jones at over
Dane
53.5. Yes, yeah. I like Aaron Jones at over 53.5 as well as an anytime touchdown scorer. I think there's going to be a feeling out period with Sam Darnold. I'm sure, throughout this game, they're going to want to get him hot and they're going to want to get Justin Jefferson involved early. But I think even with the threat of pass catching as well as, red zone rushing, assuming that, he's going to split some time with Ty Chandler, but likely going to get those red zone carries. I like Aaron Jones at over 53.5 yards and potential anytime touchdown scorer for this game.
All right, is that all we've got on this barn burner?
Yes.
I can't believe that game. I just want to say real quick, I cannot believe that game was a playoff game a year and a half ago.
That was
like
tough.
just
tough
like 1
watch.
year ago, that was a playoff game. Crazy how the direction of those two franchises has downturned since then. But that can move us to. Do we have Raiders and Chargers ready? We have the lines for that ready, Mike?
We have Raiders and Chargers ready right here. It is a 3-point spread with the Los Angeles Chargers getting 3 at home. Over under is set at 40.5. Team totals are set at 17 and 21.5 points for the Raiders and Chargers respectively. Right away, I want to look at this is a sicko line. If you want to just, I don't like either of these spreads. I don't really like if the NFL is telling you it's a 3-point game, they got no idea where it's going to go either way. So I like Justin Herbert over 30.5 pass attempts. I think this is going to be. It already came in with a lot of questions surrounding this wide receiver core. And I think one way they're going to at least try and stay competitive to where they're not going to be in a position where, they might have to trade Justin Herbert. Obviously, he does have some question marks with injury, but I like his over 30.5 pass attempts in this game. I think they're going to be spreading the ball around a lot. I don't know who those targets are going to go to. That's a big question, but I do like him over 30.5 pass attempts if you are looking at anywhere to process. I mean, do you guys like any of these lines? The 3 always throws me, especially in a game like this. Gardner Minshew on the other side for the Raiders. I mean, what do you guys think?
I'm actually.
You got it, Christian? Go for it.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Chargers to cover. I'm really excited about their offensive line, both tackles. I think Gus Edwards is going to score this weekend. I love Joe Alt. I think he's just going to destroy the Raiders defense, but obviously it'll be interesting to see him matched up with Max, see him matched up with Wilkins sometimes. definitely going to keep an eye on the O line and the D line, Raiders D line versus the Chargers O line. But I do think with Herbert back there, I think that just gives them an unmountable advantage over the Raiders. So I'm going to take them to cover.
I think the fact that Justin Herbert is the quarterback of the Chargers is the only reason that I'm going to go with the Chargers in this game. Every other factor is making me want to take the Raiders. You got a returning head coach, even if Jim Harbaugh is all the accolades he can, all the everything he wants to hold up on his trophy board. He's still a brand new coach with this team, with a team that has depleted its weapons, has some questions about how it's performed at the end of. Well, I mean, the end of the playoffs 2 years ago was a disaster, and last season was absolutely an unmitigated disaster. It got the coach fired. There's a reason there was an opening for this job in LA. It's, outside of Justin Herbert, it's not exactly a perfect spot, but they do have the quarterback, and I think that's going to be the difference in this game. I don't necessarily think it's going to be Jim Harbaugh out coaching Antonio Pierce. And like you said, Christian, I think that Joe Alt versus Mac Crosby is going to be a great matchup. I don't know that it's going to go well for Joe Alt. We'll see. I think that could be a game. That could be a matchup that turns the game on its head if Max Crosby is able to get a strip sack, is able to be in the backfield all game. That could be the X factor that's making me want to lean Raiders in this game. But once again, when you have a quarterback chasm like Justin Herbert, and God love the guy, Gardner Minshew seems like a great guy, but he's just not the quarterback that Justin Herbert is. Give me Justin Herbert and the Chargers to win in this game. The points are weird, but I'll take the 3 points as well.
I'll lay
the 3 points as well.
Another bet I really like is, just assuming, because I'm going to go Chargers in this one as well, and assuming that they're going to be the ones that put the pressure on early. I like Gus Edwards for the first touchdown scorer at plus 1,000. I mean, you can assume he'll take on a similar role, that he did in Baltimore, kind of being the goal line back. And another person to also keep an eye on, who has really not been talked about much in this, as we've talked about the Chargers and, the young receivers that they do have. DJ Chark is the wide receiver 3. I think DJ Chark is a solid, you could be looking at 5.5 to 7.5 receptions from Chark in this one. I like him as an anytime touchdown scorer.
Can I get Ladd McConkey? Can I get Ladd McConkey's receptions?
Yeah, so Ladd McConkey is sitting at, that's his reception yards at least. So Ladd McConkey's sitting at over under 33.5 receiving yards with actually his receptions aren't even listed on really? But 33.5 receiving yards is the line for McConkey.
The secret prop that only Christian wants to bet on. Ladd McConkey
or Josh,
receptions prop apparently.
Maybe Josh Palmer too.
44.5.
I think the takeaway with the Chargers is, and I like the DJ Chark references, there's a receiver that's just waiting to just pop off on this team. I don't know if it's Quentin Johnson. I don't know what the story's going to be. But Justin Herbert is going to elevate the. Okay, well, it's Justin Herbert's going to elevate the play of somebody. I mean, I don't think it's going to be Quentin Johnson, but who knows? I'm still rooting for the guy.
Well, if they want to keep Justin Herbert, and not have him be looking for a trade, I mean, someone's got to catch the balls. So, if you're going to look anywhere,
I have a feeling he'll elevate somebody on that team in the receiving corps.
Absolutely.
And it could be Chark, like you said, Mike. But that could, unless we got anything else to say, that could lead us to our next game in the 3:00 slot. Broncos.
Did we miss Jacksonville, Miami?
Oh yes, Jacksonville, Miami in the early slate. That's
the last 12. That's the last 12.
All right,
that is the last one.
We got to go back.
We'll go back.
We're
back in the past.
At Dolphins.
Jaguars at
another interesting
Dolphins.
game. This feels
very
like a
interesting
great
game.
Week 1. Yeah.
You got You got Florida Santa Claus versus Mike McDaniel with the new look every 2 minutes. It's a 3.5 point spread, and the over under is set at 49 in this one. Jags or Dolphins are laying the points. Jags at 23.5. Dolphins at 27. Guys, I think this is one of my big upsets for week one. I think the Jags are going to come out. I think with an improved interior defensive line, as we talked about, Armstead coming over from the 49ers. I think they're going to be able to get after Tua. I think there's a lot of questions on this Miami offensive line. And I like the Jags plus 3.5, but I also like them money line to take this game. Another line I do like because at the end of the day, it's really hard to see a number and bet the under when you've got Tyreek Hill on the other side of the ball and Devon Achane, who I think is going to be featured very heavily by this Miami offense. I like the Jags at 3.5, and I also like the over at 49. What do you guys think?
You took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, I do agree. I was going to pinpoint the Eric Armstead pickup. I think their interior defensive line is going to be a big problem for Miami's offensive line. I thought at the beginning of the year, the biggest question mark for me was Miami's offensive line. And then we haven't seen Odell Beckham. We haven't seen him play. I don't know how much he's going to be featured in the offense. I do like the Achane call. I think he's going to get a lot of touches. But I'm going to take Miami to money line. I'm going to take Miami money line, and then I'm going to take Jacksonville to cover the spread. But I do think it'll be a really good close game. But I just think there's too much speed on the outside for Jacksonville to really stop them.
You're going to think I'm crazy. The first thing I did was check the weather for this game and check what the weather's going to be like in Miami, just because of the unique home field advantage that Miami has early in the year. In Hard Rock Stadium, they can put the away team in the sun, in the hot heat. The only problem is it looks like it could be rainy. It looks like it could be cloudy. 87 degrees, it's still pretty hot, but if that sun's not beating down on you, that neutralizes that home field advantage. And it may sound silly to check the weather and just go off of that, but if there is rain, that could be a significant factor in terms of Miami's offense and what they want to do, getting the ball in Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle's hands. I like where you're going, Mike, with just the Jacksonville Jaguars in terms of their defense is improved. I think that they're a sneaky team in terms of having a top defensive front with Josh Hines-Allen and Tariq Armstead and Trayvon Walker on their defensive line. I'm very high on that Jacksonville squad, and I think that Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne, they've been playing together for a long time. I think that they're going to be able to lead this Jacksonville offense to victory in an uncertain game just based on the weather conditions. I think they could play a huge factor in Miami on Sunday. So just something to look out for.
Another prop I wanted to kind of bring to your guys' attention that I really like in this game is Brian Thomas's over 41.5 receiving yards. You don't go in the first round and take what is now a receiver with such a high quality resume coming out of a high flying offense. With Jaden Daniels at LSU, I like his over at 41.5. I think he's going to be someone that's going to be featured very frequently with Jacksonville. I mean, assuming this is going to be a relatively high scoring game and Trevor Lawrence is going to be passing the ball around a lot. It really is only major competition for targets being Christian Kirk, Etienne, and Evan Ingram, but I like Brian Thomas to go over 41.5 receiving yards for his first ever game in the NFL. I like, and I think that goes along with, if you think the Jags are going to win this one, all they're going to have to put up the points themselves. And I think Brian Thomas is going to be a major focal point in that off the bat for Doug Peterson.
And I think Travis Etienne, he's going to score as well this weekend.
Chris, you got to have a anytime scorer prop for every single game that you just toss out. That's got to be the new tradition for. I love it. I appreciate every single one of them. Don't worry. Don't take it to heart. Jeez, it's a compliment. All right, now we go to 3:00 slate. Now we can talk about Broncos and Seahawks.
Now let's talk about Broncos.
Yeah. Now let's talk about Broncos and Seahawks. I think this, just to say right off the bat, the Seahawks are a very, very interesting team this season, just based on the new coach and the departure of Pete Carroll that felt more like a mutual parting of ways, and it didn't necessarily require a firing. But this could be a sneaky good team that a lot of people aren't talking about. What are the lines on this game, Mike?
So we're going to open up. It is Seahawks -6, a -255 money line. So a lot of the public and the books all believe that this is going to be Seahawks winning outright. You're not really going to get much of a return on investment there. Over/under set at 42. Broncos team total is only at 17.5, while the Seahawks are sitting at 23.5, playing in Lumen Field in Seattle. Right off the bat, guys, I think, just looking on, this is throwing out all names. This is throwing out concepts. This is just looking at matchups. And, what I was even seeing on, fantasy football, one of the top targeted units was the Seattle Seahawks defense to go up against Bo Nix and make his first start in the NFL difficult at the very least. So I lean Seahawks here, just given the Bo Nix factor. I also think, with McDonald, calling the shots there in Seattle now. I mean, we've talked about it. I think it's going to open up a lot for that offense. Shane Waldron gone. I think it opens up a lot for guys like DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Jackson Smith and Jigba. I lean Seahawks. I don't really have I don't know where to land on the 42, just because I think there's so many question marks on the Broncos side of the offensive side of the ball for the Broncos. But I mean, what do you guys think? My inclination is to go Seattle here, especially at home.
Yeah, I think
go for it, Chris.
Go ahead. Yeah, I think Javonte Williams is going to get a lot of touches this weekend. But I feel like, that offense in Seattle is revamped. I think they're going to air it out. I think the philosophy this year with the new OC is going to be much in line with what they should have been doing for the last couple of years. And I think DK is going to break out as well as a result of that. Now, Tyler Lockett is dealing with an injury. I think it's a patellar tendon injury. Don't know how much he's going to really produce on Sunday. But I really like the passing game for Seattle this weekend. I think they're going to be just too much for the opposition.
And they're wearing the 80s home uniform. So I mean, tough to bet against that.
Seattle throwbacks. Those are
the Seattle throwbacks.
Easily the best uniforms in the league. But beyond just their uniforms, I love the Seahawks this season. I love what they did hiring a guy like Mike McDonald, young coach, to head up the defense and build his defense with young guys like Byron Murphy, who's going to be my pick to have a top defensive rookie of the year season this year. And they've also got Pro Bowlers, a top 100 guy in Julian Love at the back end of that defense that is holding it down at a like I said, at a Pro Bowl level. He had some huge plays last season in prime time. So, I mean, I think that they have a good mix of young guys and veterans. They signed Jerome Baker, who I also think is a good, solid, underrated middle linebacker in this league. But at the same time, you also have a great offense that they've set up as well. They've got a ready-to-go, ready-made offense with Geno Smith. Even if Lockett's out, they still have Metcalf and Jackson Smith and Jigba. And I think that Ryan Grubb is going to be a head coach candidate quickly, just based on the concepts that he's going to be bringing and that high-flying, high-powered offense in Seattle that, Christian, you mentioned. I think they're going to be just slinging the ball this season. Kenneth Walker, we haven't even mentioned Kenneth Walker yet as being one of the best running backs in the NFL. I think that this Seattle offense is in for a huge season. I think the defense is going to hold it down. The question is how deep that division is in the NFC West. But I think that Seattle is going to be able to handle business. And I think, Mike, another huge important part of what you said is he's going to be facing, Bo Nix is going to be facing a veteran defense with also some great young pieces as well. And it's no joke. I mean, that they traded away Darrell Taylor on that Seattle defensive line because of how deep they were. And so when you're a rookie quarterback going into a tough place to play in Lumen Field week 1 in your first career start, I'm going to be betting against you. Give me Seattle, and we'll be laying the points at 3 o'clock on Sunday.
One prop I wanted to bring to your guys' attention before we move on that I absolutely love: Geno Smith over 1.5 touchdowns. I think we've touched on all of it. I mean, I think it's going to be a high flying offense, and whether they come in the red zone, maybe that'll be kind of more so where they get the ball to Kenneth Walker and he can take it in and see how Zach Charbonnet is going to play out. But I mean, they're going to want to be airing it out. I mean, it takes DK Metcalf beating one guy to be able to take it to the house with pay dirt in front of him. And if he can't, I would be shocked if he couldn't squeak another one in with either Jackson Smith-Njigba, Kenneth Walker, or Tyler Lockett. I like Geno Smith over 1.5 touchdowns in this one as well, guys.
For sure. Absolutely.
For sure. That's all we got to say.
For sure.
For sure. And so I think we're all pretty much in agreement that Bo Nix, we're not betting on Bo Nix against the Seahawks week 1.
Not yet.
In Seattle. And certainly not against those uniforms, man. Those are tight.
Those are
clean. We can move on to the next game on the 3 o'clock slot, the primetime, I guess you call it the primetime game, the nationally televised game. Cowboys, and we'll just cut right to them. Cowboys-Browns, what are the lines?
The Cleveland Browns are 2.5 point. The Cleveland Browns are 2.5 point favorites. Cowboys are coming to the lake in Cleveland. Over/under is set at 41.5. Team totals are set at 21.5 and 20 for the Cowboys. Guys, right off the bat, I think a lot of questions, that got shored up with CeeDee Lamb, signing his contract. Over/under for the Cowboys is set at 20. As I look at this, I want to pick the Browns. There's a million questions surrounding the team going into it, but I think just in terms of talent on the offensive line and sheer amount and quantity over quality talent on the defensive side of the ball, and that's not even mentioning Myles Garrett, I think the Browns take care of business here in this one with the 2.5 spread. I always hate betting on the Browns because, as I've always said, I want them to, have them be the pallbearers at my funeral to let me down one last time. But I think Cleveland does pull it out in this one. One storyline, that I think everyone on earth, and especially NFL media, us and me being a Browns fan, are watching is what are we going to get out of Deshaun Watson? And Nick Chubb already, not starting off the year. We're going to have Jerome Ford as well as Pierre Strong, taking carries out of the backfield. Right off the bat, I really like Jerome Ford's over 51.5 rushing yards, just because I think he's going to be a focal part of the offense, because we really saw it last year with Deshaun. When the running game wasn't able to get it done, it really threw him off in terms of being able to switch anything up on the offensive side of the ball. There's already enough questions with him with the shoulder coming into this game. I do like him for an anytime touchdown scorer, but I think I think I would target Jerome Ford over 51.5 rushing yards against this Cowboy defense. What do you guys think? Maybe we could talk about the other side of the ball, so it's not completely biased. But I definitely
here's
lean
my
Browns
thing.
here.
Here's my thing: is we got to look at how did these teams look the last time we saw them, and the last time we saw the Cowboys, they were getting blown out of Dallas by a young Packers team, and they just looked totally outmatched, not ready to play. The last time we saw this Browns team with Deshaun Watson heading it up, Mike, you're going to love this. They looked like Baltimore's worst nightmare. They looked like the kryptonite to Lamar Jackson. This was a team that looked like serious contenders, and Deshaun Watson was slinging it in that game. Goes back down with the mystery shoulder injury, and we obviously see Joe Flacco from there on out. But that specific Browns team, the team that knocked off the Ravens on that Sunday, give me those Browns over this iteration of the Cowboys. If those two teams show up, especially with the Browns at home, I think the Browns could win this game comfortably. I think there's still too many questions in Dallas, even after the CeeDee Lamb contract signing.
All right, Pat, you got me fired up. I think Deshaun Watson. I'm looking at is over under right now is set at 222.5. I think Deshaun Watson is going to come out. I expect a really big game out of Deshaun Watson, between 250 and 300 passing yards, and there's going to be
Look
two
at his
touchdowns.
eyes.
There's going to be two
Look at the
touchdowns
man's
out there.
eyes when he
One of
talks
them-
about it.
One of them could very well be David Njoku. One of them could very well be his favorite weapon, which is Amari Cooper. There are going to be a couple of questions on the ground. How is this offensive line going to hold up? But let's not forget that this was one of the best This was statistically one of the best offensive lines and the best statistical defense over I believe 8-game stretch last year. I love the Browns here. Give me the Browns in Cleveland. Mike McCarthy, hot seat right away. It's happening.
Yeah, I completely disagree with you, Mike.
Here it comes.
I mean, I love Dallas's offense. Look, the last game we saw, they looked horrible. But I think it was clear by the end of the season, it was a one-man show with CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb not being in training camp might have been the best thing to happen to that Dallas offense. You got to find somebody else to pass the ball to. I'm actually really excited about Jake Ferguson's progression this season. They don't have a run game, but that offensive line is back, and I think it's as revamped as it's ever been. Maybe since like the first few years of Zach Martin and Tyron Smith, I think it's that good. I think Guyton is that good. I think Cooper Beebe is going to be a stud at center, and they're going to control the offensive side of the football, even though Cleveland has a great defense. And the biggest concern that I have for Cleveland outside of Deshaun Watson is left tackle. I mean, I think Jack Conklin is going to play left tackle this weekend. I'm nervous for him. I don't know how he's going to fare against DeMarcus Lawrence or Micah Parsons. Mike Zimmer, new defense. Interesting to watch him versus the Browns. I don't think Deshaun Watson's shoulder is okay. I love your point on Jerome Ford. I love that prop bet. I would take that 100%. But ultimately, I cannot trust Deshaun Watson to throw the football. I can trust Amari Cooper to run great routes and get open. I would love to see his reception total, what his over and under is. But outside of that, I am really skeptical of Deshaun Watson on Sunday.
And I love his rushing.
Outside of Brandon Cooks and CeeDee Lamb.
I
who's the other
really
wide
like.
receiver on that
I
Dallas
really
Cowboys
like
squad?
Ferguson,
Jalen
Jake
Tolbert.
Ferguson, and then Tolbert is all right. I really like Jalen Brooks.
Tolbert?
I like Brooks, and I like Ryan Flournoy. Shout out to Ryan Flournoy. Dog.
All right.
So, in full
Haven't seen
disclosure,
either of those guys.
I actually love Deshaun's rushing total in this one. I think it's going to be something where people have forgotten just how explosive he is with his feet, and it's only set at 20.5. I think a couple of scrambles get out of bounds. That's a very attainable number for Deshaun Watson. The thing is, there's so much there. There may not be more pressure on a single player in the NFL rather than Deshaun Watson. And if you're Kevin Stefanski, you're going to let him make his own bed. But if that means trusting a former top 5 quarterback in this league to revive himself and be the focal point of this offense when you will not have Nick Chubb for at least the first 5-6 weeks of the year, I think Deshaun Watson is going to come out and will have. I think the statement game comes out of the sheer desperation and the sheer need for Deshaun Watson to prove to everybody and silence all doubters that are already counting the Browns out and counting him out as this being the worst contract in NFL history. I think the bet against Deshaun Watson, when he's at least going to give himself the opportunity, knowing what kind of player he was, I mean, you can make that bet, Christian. I'm not doing it.
His shoulder
Christian
looks
has become
really bad.
Public enemy number one.
His shoulder looks
That's
really
simple.
bad.
Yeah.
Did you
I
take a
made
look?
the point about
You've seen him throw a ball? He hasn't played.
Oh man, I did say he looked great in the game before he went down. He looked great in that game against the Ravens. So if we can get that Deshaun Watson again, I don't know. Mike might not sound so crazy.
Exactly.
But-
These Brown segments, we're going to need Pat to get a Tony Reale mute button on Christian.
Christian just becomes the resident Deshaun Watson hater. I didn't expect that to happen, but
Oh,
we can
I'm
move
so
on
shocked.
to the if we're good to move on from the Browns talk, we can move on to I think this game is going to be as simple as rookie quarterback facing a former division champion on the road with a great defense and a solid defensive head coach. Spoiler, I'm going to go Buccaneers over Commanders here, but what are the lines, Mike?
So yeah, it is going to be the Buccaneers playing in Raleigh, Maryland the Commanders playing in Tampa Bay for Week 1. Over under is set at 44. Line is at 3. Team total overs are at 20.5 for the Commanders and 23.5 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What do you guys think off the bat? I mean, this is another case of rookie quarterback. First start against a Todd Bowles defense. On the road, I lean toward. I give the benefit of the doubt to Tampa Bay. I think they take care of business in this one. But I'm very interested to see how Jaden Daniels is going to be playing, as I think the entire country is. With the weapons that they do have on the outside, and to see Brian Robinson and how he's going to play a part in this offense. It's going to be a good game, but I think just given experience being at home, first year, it's going to be Dan Quinn's first game coaching for the Commanders. I like the Buccaneers to take care of business in Tampa. What do you guys think?
I spoiled mine already, Christian. Yeah,
I
I agree. I think it. Go, you go, Christian.
No, go ahead.
All right, I think that, as I said before, Jaden Daniels could be very well be a great quarterback. I think that the Commanders could be a sneaky good team this year, but this is a tough draw Week 1 to go down to a hot Tampa Bay to face what will be a solid defense. You can have questions about Dave Canales leaving. I'm not going to have questions about the Buccaneers fielding a solid defense with those guys. Levante David is still there running the show. Vita Vea, Antoine Winfield Jr. There are playmakers at every level of that defense. But the question is going to be, how does Jaden Daniels respond? I don't know. I dare I say I would like a Jaden Daniels rushing touchdown prop here. I think that he'll be scrambling a lot. He'll be running for his life, and he is going to be one of the fastest guys on the field. So I think that if we're looking for some kind of prop action, that's where my mind would immediately go. But I would say that this is going to be a game that the Buccaneers win probably pretty comfortably at home against a rookie quarterback.
And I think one of the things going into this game is just the sheer opposite ends of the spectrum that both these rosters and organizations are kind of dealing with right now. I mean, there's so many new faces on the Commanders roster, as well as Dan Quinn now being the head coach. The Buccaneers really made, and I mean, and they're one of the few teams in the NFL, I feel like, that really made, well, not few, but in a position to, that made a concerted effort to really make sure they kept their top stars there because it was working last year. I mean, Chris Godwin's still there. Cade Otton, I think, is going to be a major part of this offense as well. The tight end for Tampa Bay, but I think keeping, like you said, Pat, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Vita Vea, Antoine Winfield Jr. I mean, that's a tough task, and I really expect this to come down to who's going to force the turnover. Where is the turnover going to come? Obviously, Baker Mayfield is prone to them, but I mean, there's so many unknowns with Jaden Daniels and how he's going to be in his first career game. I think the smart pick is taking Tampa Bay here, and I also like Rashad White for an anytime touchdown score as well.
Yes, I do. I do like Tampa Bay to cover the spread this year, this weekend. I do see a lot of similarities to Jaden Daniels and RG3 in his rookie season. I just don't know if he's going to really take off in week one. I'm really concerned with Washington's offense because outside of Terry McLaurin, I'm concerned who else is he really throwing to. And I think that's going to hamper them to start the year. I think Tampa Bay is going to do a good job on Terry this weekend. And it's going to leave Jaden really with little to nothing to do. So ultimately, I think it's just a great defense shuts down a young offense. But I do expect a lot of great things out of Jaden this year. I expect a similar season to RG3 his rookie year.
Another interesting storyline that I'd love to get your guys' take on, going into this one is, kind of how that backfield is going to split with, Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler back there. I mean, they're only listing, the props for Austin Eckler, receiving being at 20.5, rushing being at 25.5. I would stay away from Austin Eckler because I've just etched in my mind is the play from last year with the come from behind drag down tackle on him, where it just seemed like the wheels just were not spinning the way they used to spin. I like Brian Robinson to actually be featured a lot and a lot more than Austin Eckler will be in this offense. It'll be interesting to see how that split's going to come, but that's going to be one of the more intriguing parts of what this offense is going to become, and kind of how the rest of the season might play out to see who is going to get those touches in addition to what Jaden Daniels is going to be able to bring to the run game.
Yeah, I do think Eckler did lose some juice, but interesting to see what Ben Sinnott does at tight end. He's got a lot of positive qualities coming out of college, out of Kansas State. Interesting to see how quickly he takes the job from Zach Ertz. If it's this year, that's the only other guy I could really see providing some type of versatility to that offense this season.
I want to know what level my thing I'm excited for is way off the wall compared to your guys. And it has something to do with the Austin Eckler split a little bit. I want to know how Mike Leach, this Cliff Kingsbury offense, is about to be for Jaden Daniels as a rookie. What kind of concepts he's going to use, where the focus is going to be. It's probably going to be a decent amount of running. I would hope that a smart offensive coordinator would allow a quarterback to lean on a run game, especially with two capable running backs or seemingly capable running backs. Certainly a great bell cow back in Brian Robinson, a reliable one at that. And then, a pretty reliable third down back in Austin Eckler that we just haven't seen. We weren't able to see consistent production from last year when everything fell apart for the Chargers. So I'm curious to see what the Kingsbury offense ends up looking like and how much he exposes Jaden Daniels to it, especially in what's going to be a hard game against a veteran defense in Tampa.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that could take us to our Sunday night game, which I will be very interested in seeing. It is a rematch of the game in the playoffs, the divisional round that ended the Rams season. It's Rams in Detroit to face the Lions. Matthew Stafford's return to Detroit, part 2. Mike, what do we got on lines?
So we got the Lions at home hosting the Rams. It's a 3.5 point spread. Over under is set at 51 in this one. That's a very high over under, especially for a primetime game. The team totals are set at 23.5 for the Rams, 27.5 for the Detroit Lions. Once again, it's going to be played at Ford Field. Matthew Stafford returns home yet again. Where their season was ended last year. Guys, I think this is a young Lions team that is loaded with talent, but also, as we've mentioned, talking about Dan Campbell, has some of the most pressure to perform this year. I think off the bat, I like the Lions at home. I think this Rams defense is going to struggle with no Aaron Donald. I mean, you don't replace a guy like that. Given how high flying their offense is, I really do like the over at 51. I mean, this is going to be one of the highest overs on the week. Lions 8-2 last year at home as home favorites. I mean, they played very, very well at home, when they were getting the points. I like the Lions to, take care of business in this one, but I don't think Matthew Stafford comes into Ford Field and lays a dud. I mean, we all know that turf plays fast. I think these guys are going to be able to get out and run the ball a lot, and we'll see. But I think 51 is where I lean on this one for the over.
I mean, they're different teams. They obviously an offseason has gone by, but it is extremely difficult to beat the same team 2 times under the same circumstances for 8 quarters and just make it happen, especially against a team as talented as this Rams squad, with a diamond in the rough, Puka Nacua, to now pair with a totally healthy Cooper Kupp. And you've got Matthew Stafford still slinging him the ball. I mean, Kyron Williams is a good running back. I think people are sleeping on how good this Rams team could be. But once again, I think that the deciding factor in this game, you're playing away. You don't have Aaron Donald. You're going to be relying on young defensive linemen to create pressure against arguably the best offensive line in the NFL. I think that specific matchup in the trenches with Detroit's offensive line imposing their will on a young Rams defensive line is going to be the difference. And I think that, as much as I hate to say it, I think the Lions take care of business here and send Matthew Stafford back to LA with an L once again. What do you think, Christian?
I'm going to go with the Rams. I think they blow the door open on the Detroit secondary. I said it earlier. Yeah, I think their secondary has still got a lot of question marks. I like Carlton Davis, but you're starting rookies. And I just think with Puka Nacua, with Cooper Kupp, Matt Stafford's going to get his matchups that he wants. I do love the Detroit front seven. I do love the offensive line of Detroit. But I just don't think they can really hang with the passing game of the Los Angeles Rams. I think also these young, talented rookies they got Jordan Whittington. I think he's going to run wild against the secondary.
He's the next Puka Nacua. You pin in that?
He's not the next Puka, but he's going to be wide receiver 3.
He's
going to be the third receiver.
Okay,
he's going to be the third receiver
behind 1A and 1B.
Yeah, and
so
Kyron's going to play well. Blake Corum's going to play well. I just think that secondaries, there's still a lot of questions with that secondary that I don't know if they have the answers yet.
And
so Lions,
for what's I think expected to be a high scoring game, just given the given the over under, given the questions that both teams have on the defensive side of the ball. One of the props I really like. I think this is going to be a game where I think they get the ball into Puka Nakua's hand early and often. His over/under for receptions is only set at 5.5, and for receiving yards, he's set at he's set at 73. I don't so much like that number, but I like him to go over his 5.5 receptions. Cooper Kupp sitting at 5.5 as well. Amon-Ra St. Brown is the only other one higher with 8.5, with 7.5 receptions. That's almost, that's been easy money for the 3 years he's been in the league to this point. I think I like Amon-Ra's receptions over as well. Looking at the offensive side of the ball, what do you think, Pat?
It's just an interesting analysis because I thought of Detroit as this impenetrable fortress of a team that's going to be tough to beat. And then Christian points out that they've got some young rookie cornerbacks, the young secondary players that are in a division loaded with top skill positions. And it's not going to get easier in the NFL. There are great receivers all over the league. This could be a spot to watch for the rest of the season and see how that Detroit Lions secondary fares and if that could be a storyline going forward based on just how indestructible this team has been marketed as and how they've been talked up as being the next Super Bowl favorites of the NFC. So if they have a secondary that's too young or inexperienced, it's going to get cooked all season. So that'll be something to watch for sure going forward with the Lions, but I still have them winning this game against the Rams. Let's move to our final game of the week. We made it to Monday night and what will inevitably probably be one of the most watched football games ever, I bet. Aaron Rodgers returns 2.0, starting for the Jets. Once again, take two. He's facing his hometown team, the San Francisco 49ers, in San Francisco. What are the lines, Mike?
4.5. 49ers are laying the points. Over-under is set at 43.5. Team totals are set at 20 for the Jets and 23.5 for the 49ers. Once again, that's going to be Aaron Rodgers playing in Santa Clara. Right off the bat, guys, let's just talk about Aaron Rodgers for a minute. What are you guys thinking? There's so much anticipation for this season as much as there was for last season. It's almost doubled, and especially with the position that Robert Saleh is in, with how hot that seat is. And it's not like they get a cakewalk off the bat. They're going into Santa Clara to play the 49ers. This one's so tough to get a gauge on. What I do lean possibly just with, I think, questions that you can have on the offensive side of the ball for the Jets, just about what's going to happen. But I really think there's a lot of talent on both sides of the offensive side of the ball for these teams, and I really like this over at 43.5 going into this game. What do you guys think?
If I want to talk about Rodgers for just a second, this is a guy who we're in Brady territory now. He's in his age 40 season. He's been getting hurt consistently for the past 2 years. Now, before that, he was a back-to-back MVP, and he was unquestionably one of the best players in football, period, before Patrick Mahomes completely took him over and has run away with that title. But we are 2 years removed from that. Patrick Mahomes has had all of that time because Aaron Rodgers has been on the shelf or whining as he was at the end of his Green Bay tenure. He whined his way out of Green Bay. And he didn't want to deal with the young receivers. It's basically what happened. But he has the cachet to do that as a Hall of Famer for sure. But once again, like I said, he's in his age 40 season. I expect the Jets to lean a lot more on their running game with Breece Hall than a lot of people maybe might. think they have to keep Aaron Rodgers upright, and the way to do that is to pick his spots. Don't force your offensive line to block for him, to have to pass block consistently for a guy that the minute he gets sacked, everyone's going to be holding their breath and assuming it's the curtains for him once again. So we'll see. They're going to have to keep him upright, and I think the way to do that is to lean on their running game and lean on their defense, which obviously could be tops in the NFL just based on their talent alone. What do you think, Christian?
Yeah, I'm expecting a really hot start from New York all season, first 10 weeks of the season, actually. I think for this game specifically, I cannot imagine it going as bad as it did last year for Aaron Rodgers. And again, I'm extremely excited about the offensive tackles, at least to start the year. Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses are two bookend tackles. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers has had since, obviously Bakhtiari, but has he had a pair of tackles like this in his career? I don't know. So I'm really that O-line to start the season. They have a really easy schedule to start the season. And I think they're going to show up week one ready to prove a point. And I just can't see things going wrong this quickly in the season for the Jets, specifically the Jets offense. I'm expecting a lot of big things from Breece Hall. As you guys mentioned, Breece Hall's a real deal running back. He's probably top 3, top 4 in the league right now. So I think they can rely on the run game. The play action game with Aaron Rodgers is always phenomenal. That's something that I don't think will change with his age. And I think they can lean on that, like you said, Pat. I'm excited for the Jets to start the season. The question that I have for them is later on in the season and how long they can hold up for. But with that in regard, I have them actually taking the spread, covering the spread. And I think for the 49ers, they're still going to have some questions offensively. I know Trent Williams is back. I know that shores up a big aspect of the offensive line, but I still have questions. They have a starting rookie guard in Dominic Puni. So they're going to look to try and take advantage of that matchup all day, early and often. And I know the Jets have a terrific front seven. Quinnen Williams is going to be a really tough matchup. Yeah, really tough matchup for Puni day one. That's to start your career. It's going to be a really interesting matchup that I don't know if Puni's going to handle that well, but we'll see. Go ahead.
I was going to say very, very telling, just kind of off, what you were mentioning, Christian. The line opened up at 6, already been bet down to 4.5. It's still in favor of the Niners, but I agree. I think this is going to be a pissed off Aaron Rodgers that's coming out, and I don't know if betting against pissed off Aaron Rodgers, even on Monday nights, as we are, just going to be, stay under a year, but he's going to be back on the football field in under a year. Since he tore that Achilles last year, it's going to be, one of the, like you said, Pat, one of the most watched games. But I think given the bright lights, given the circumstances, I kind of like the Jets I actually like the Jets to win outright in this game and to cover 4.5 as underdogs on the road.
Yeah,
what's Tyler Conklin?
Tyler Conklin?
Yep.
So Tyler Conklin's over-under is set at 28 with 28 receiving yards, 3.5 receptions on 3.5 receptions to this point. For an anytime touchdown, I would have to get you that.
Okay.
I think everybody wants to look at Aaron Rodgers in this game, but the key matchup is going to be Brock Purdy and whether he can change the game and make the plays as necessary, because you can have all the weapons you want. This Jets defense has every answer. This Jets defense is built for any offense in the league. They're going to put the pressure on the quarterback to win the game. That's how good this defense is. You need a great quarterback to beat him. We'll see if Brock Purdy is that guy. It'll be a great test for him to show if he is worth, is it $60 million a year? Who knows what it's going to be when that contract comes due next season. But but we're going to get a good example of it because he'll have the weapons. He'll have Debo, Ayuk, Trent Williams will be there, but that Jets defense is going to be there, and I think that's going to be his biggest concern. And I think it's going to be the reason we're all kind of circling around it. And I think the Jets are going to win this game, and I'll take the points as well if they're going to give them to me, because I'm as much as I'd like to bet against Aaron Rodgers, I just can't bet against that defense, and I don't know if Brock Purdy is going to be able to beat him. So I think that's the important matchup in this one.
Another
yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say another storyline I'm really interested to see is, even just today, Brandon Ayuk came out and said he made those contract negotiations way more difficult than he needed to make them. And his over-under is set at 54.5. Do you take it and assume he's going to get peppered with targets when they have so many mouths to still feed on that offense? I mean, he made all this belly aching about it for a new contract. I think there's a ton of pressure on Brandon Ayuk to perform in this game as well. And I think, as you said, Pat, I think the Jets are going to be able to get after Brock Purdy early and often, and it might be egg in his face to where I'm kind of leaning going under on Brandon Ayuk's receptions, just given the factor of that Jets defense and the pressure he already put on himself, to hold out while he's still under contract.
I think it's funny for Brandon Ayuk to say he made it more difficult than he needed to on the 49ers, because he could have signed the contract months ago and it would have saved the 49ers $20 million or something like that. I mean, ridiculous amount of money, but he made that for himself. I think it's hilarious for him to come back now and say, I made all this money. I got exactly what I wanted. I got a huge contract and I didn't have to go to Cleveland, sorry, Mike, to get it, or to Pittsburgh or New England. I can stay in Santa Clara with my super team and get paid as the guy for this 49ers team, when a lot of his targets came from just the amount of sheer separation he was able to generate last season. You tell me if you think he'll be able to get that same separation against Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed. We'll see, but that's one of the best secondaries in the league. It's probably the best secondary in the AFC that they're going to be facing. So it's going to be, once again, just a tough challenge for Brock Purdy, and I don't know if he's up for it, and that's why I'm leaning towards the Jets.
Another line I like in this one is the Jets team total over 10 in the first half. I think we can assume that, we're going to get a steady diet of, obviously Breece Hall is going to be, he's going to get the bulk of the carries, but I think Aaron Rodgers is going to want to get out there and prove that he's still got it. I think you're going to see a lot of pushing the ball down the field, trying to score. I like the Jets over to over 10 for the first half. I don't think there's a lot of weapons on that team, and like I said, I just think with the factor of Aaron Rodgers wanting to come out and prove that he's back, to bet against that when he's going to be putting the ball in the air, I like them to go over 10 points in the first half.
Yeah, and I just wanted to give credit to Purdy. Last couple of seasons, he has not gotten enough credit for really subpar offensive line play outside of Trent Williams. I just wanted to point that out. Not many people talk about it because they just assume Trent Williams is there, that he's not had a hard time at all. But he gets the ball out and he covers for his offensive line very well. And then to your point, Patrick, I just want to shout out Michael Carter II, who is probably the best slot corner in the league right now. He just got paid the most money for a slot corner. So just want to shout him out as well. And I think, as you mentioned, Ayuk being out and the number one option for Purdy, especially last season, it really does give me some concern, some caution for San Francisco this week. I am leaning towards New York probably pulling that out because of it. But I do think it's going to be a big-time McCaffrey game. McCaffrey's always going to score, so I'll take anytime touchdown score for McCaffrey for sure.
And what's so interesting about the 49ers and how they're constructed, when you look at the left side of the line, obviously you think you think Trent Williams, who just signed that massive extension, but right next to him is Aaron Brooks, who allowed the third highest rate of pressure in 2023. I mean, it's just such a contrast. And the questions on the opposite side of the line. I mean, there's third round pick Dominic Puny, who's going to be starting at guard, and then McKivitz and Spencer Buford as well. I mean, I think there's questions on that right side of the line. I think Brock Purdy, like you said, guys. I mean, with the secondary for the Jets and the fact that they're going to want to be getting after the quarterback on the defensive side of the ball, I think they're going to make Brock Purdy's life very, very difficult on Monday. It's going to be interesting to see if he's able to get the ball out quickly, to the weapons that do make them as explosive of an offense as they can be. But yeah, I'm leaning the Jets in this one.
And just want to shout out Ricky Pearsall, hoping for a quick recovery because that shit is crazy.
Yeah, that definitely, not to put a football spin on it, but it definitely will make Brock Purdy's life a lot harder too, not being able to rely on Ricky Pearsall in that game. Not that it would have been a tough task for Ricky Pearsall to face off against that Jets secondary. I would have loved to see it, but another notch against the Niners is going to be not having Ricky Pearsall out there for the senseless shooting that he had to go through over the weekend. So obviously, shout out, best wishes to him, of course. But that on that note, I think that can wrap up our podcast as we've gone through all of them, all of the week one slate, and we've laid down our picks. And I think that we're going to go 100%. I mean, I think at least mine were all correct. I don't know about you guys, but we're going to keep track. We're going to keep track throughout the season, and you'll be able to hold us accountable too as a listener of the Bulletin Board Sports Podcast. And speaking of you, we want to say thank you for listening to our show tonight. From Pat, Mike, and Christian, we say thank you very much. Love you. See you next week.
So, yeah.